Hey guys, Dr. Feelgood here. When I was a kid, I had a friend come over and we thought he'd play RuneScape, and I was going to lure him into the wilderness and steal all of his rune armor. Well, we both went in there with our rune armor on, and I turned around with my adamant scimitar and sculled on him and started attacking him. And what did he do but turn around with a rune two-hander and absolutely destroy me? I went crying to my mum and told her that this friend had stolen all of my stuff. And she asked him the story. When he told her the truth, I got grounded for 2 weeks for being deceitful, and he got to keep all of my stuff. And needless to say, we weren't really friends after that.
Welcome to episode 209 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dills, and join with me today, a big surprise guest co-host, Heartless. How's it going?
Yo, what's up, dude?
Back from dirt biking, or what did we say last week? I think we said that you were sick.
Back from the dead. I actually was very sick for the last 2 weeks.
Oh, that sucks.
I took a week off work, and yeah, it was rough. And then I have had like a lingering cough for the last week, so I apologize if I sound strange or drop the occasional cough. I called the doctor today, and she said, yeah, it was probably COVID. So, I mean, I kind of expected as much. Even though the rapid tests like failed, she's like, yeah, they're not always accurate. So, I'm vaccinated. So like that helped quite a lot. I wasn't as sick as I could have been. And yeah, just overall it wasn't great, but the cough is still there. So I have to go get an inhaler tomorrow.
Oh, no way. The inhaler. I was on one of those. There's been like 4 instances where I was like, oh, I probably have COVID. And then maybe I got it, but I kept coming up negative as well. One time it was food poisoning, which was crazy.
Food poisoning is the worst. I had it once, never again.
Yeah.
Not that someone would choose to get food poisoning, but you know what I mean? I will try hard to not get that.
Well, my doctor actually said I didn't get food poisoning. I got poisoned from food. He's like, it's a big difference. And I was like, oh, okay.
Any doctors in the chat can answer that one, but I don't understand the difference.
I don't know.
But anyways, I do feel a lot better now, and we've kind of got our recording schedule back in order. So hopefully we can start getting these out regularly.
When you got sick, it's weird when you play RuneScape. Sometimes when people get sick, they're like, sweet, I can stay home and play some video games for a bit. Was it like that for you?
No, because like I'm usually I was pretty disoriented for the first week. Like I slept a lot. I did play RuneScape probably like maybe 2 or 3 hours in the day when I was feeling at my best. Like I would get up and have some food and then like, play for a couple hours, but I wouldn't do anything intense. It was just like skilling. So it was actually kind of good because for like the week and a bit that I was sick, I got 99 construction. So
there it is. Hey, there it is. It's funny when you get sick and you play RuneScape, because part of it is like, when I had the food poisoning, I was like, oh, I can play video games and I can whatever chill, but I was too sick. I couldn't enjoy any of it. But I remember when Dragon Slayer 2 was coming out, I was working construction at the time, and I had planned on calling in sick for it because I had some sick days to use. And this was back when updates were releasing on Thursdays. Now they do it on Wednesdays. So I was going to call in sick on Thursday, and then Wednesday came and I lost my voice. I did start getting sick, but all I did was I just lost my voice. I didn't feel any different. Anyways, I show up to work and everyone's like, dude, you have to go home. You sound so sick. And I was like, oh, true. You're right. And I told my boss that I have to go home because I'm sick. And he's like, true. You sound pretty bad. And it was the day before Dragon Slayer 2 came out. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the best timing ever. And I wasn't even really sick. So, I mean, I was sick, but I didn't feel bad. So it worked out. That was a good sick.
Yeah, it's a weird one. So yeah, I might just not have quite as much stamina. The doctors, I know there's like complications that can come with COVID, but she's basically saying like, yeah, 6 to 8 weeks, I think it was, that the cough can linger. I was like, oh shit, I don't want to have this for that long. But it is like slowly improving. It's just not at like a pace that is normal. So yeah, I'm not surprised. But anyways, we're mostly better at this point. I'm back to work and stuff, so it's all good.
That's good. That's good. Being bedridden can get old. Even if you do play a lot of RuneScape, even if you're grinding out those 99s.
Poor Dill's having to cut all these coughs out of the recording though.
That's okay. We'll make it work. I went for a jog once, only once, but I went for a jog once. I was like, I'm gonna get fit. I'm gonna start working out. So I went for a nice jog, and I really kicked my ass. And then I developed this crazy cough afterwards. So I went to the doctors, and they're like, "Yeah, you gave yourself asthma." I was like, "What the fuck?" And like, it's called runner's induced asthma. Here's an inhaler, and I was like, "What?" I didn't know that was a thing, but it is a thing. There's your little pre-health show talk. What are we going to talk about on RuneScape? Because we got a thing to talk about. Yeah, the big one. It's really one big thing to talk about, and it's the Tomb of a every time I always have to sit and think about it. It's Tomb of a Mascot reward changes 3.0. I think it's 3.0. It's version 3.
Honestly, I don't even think we talked about the first few versions. So this is like our first time tackling the rewards.
Yeah, they've changed it. They've changed a few times, which is actually, it's not unheard of. They've done this.
This happens all the time for like all the raids. Like there's an initial, and then they kind of get a feel for what people want, and then there's a few variations. This might not even be the final variation, but we're like, now we have a real idea of what the items might be.
Totally. It's like they'll pitch these ideas, and it's like they're very early in concept. What do they say at my work? It's very high level. I hate when it's some really high level details, and I have no idea what that means. I'm like, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is that basic? Is that a lot of detail? Nobody knows. But if we go back to Chambers of Xeric, like I remember they pitched there was going to be a set of twisted armor, and this was going to be actually melee armor, and it was going to be like bandos, but instead of it being strength focused, it was going to be it's more based on accuracy. So that was an idea that was pitched, and it ended up kind of just falling. It actually failed, I think, so it never came out. Theater of Blood, they had a range, mage, and melee set that was going to come out, and it was all going to be like have a damage boost for being used within. It was supposed to be Barrows outside of Theater of Blood, but it was going to be the best in slot within Theater of Blood. This weird perk where it was like, it only works in Theater of Blood. That's 20% damage boost. Yeah, it was. That didn't come out either. And I remember they pitched at RuneFest. It's always interesting when they pitch these ideas and then we see what actually comes out. They had pitched this idea, which is kind of cool. I wonder why they didn't go with it, but Theater of Blood was going to have this room where one person needed to be the quote unquote key holder, and they were going to need to pick up some sort of item that would not allow them to attack and would make them walk. And then they would have to be protected by everybody else. That was an idea for one of the raid rooms. What ended up happening, I think, was it became the maze at Sodaseg. I think that's what happened. So I think instead of it being one room entirely, it was one mechanic within a room.
Sodaseg maze is one of the best parts of TOB. I think it's so cool.
Oh, I love it. I love those mechanics where someone gets teleported somewhere else, and then you guys have to work almost independently, but also together. I love stuff like when raids feature stuff like that. But
yeah, I'm sure it'll be a part of the new raid. Like without a doubt, there'll be some kind of in between the rooms. There'll be some kind of sepulcher style activity or something.
It seems that way with the quest.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty cool. So yeah, anyways, we got some new rewards to talk about there. They've changed some things up. And that's really that's basically it. They've been doing a lot behind the scenes for the mobile client. Anyone who's on Android, I think you can opt in to play on this new beta where you get all these like RuneLite tracker, these RuneLite plugins within the games, like tile markers. And it's actually really nice. It's pretty cool. So they're still tinkering away at that, and they even have a survey about what would you like to see on it. So yeah, that's where we're at. But yeah, it feels like it's been ages since we've been able to get on a podcast together. What have you been up to besides being sick and 99 construction? That's probably it, isn't it? It's a lot.
Yeah, pretty much. So 99 Con took the better part of like 10 days. I was just kind of chilling while I was sick, chipping away at it here and there. I did mahogany tables. I don't really like mahogany homes. Like it's definitely a good option, but it's too slow for me.
It is slow, yeah.
I was losing my mind doing it, so I just spent 60 mil and 40,000 blanks and did tables. Fantastic choice. It was like really, really high XP. It was worth it. I did quite a bit of Nightmare, another 50 KC. So I'm like 150 now. And I got the sleepy tablet finally on 150. So that was awful, but I'm glad it's over. So I can kind of stop Nightmare for a bit. Would like to go back when I have a scythe for the final phase. Then also have been doing quite a lot of TOB recently. There's been some like younglings coming through in the Discord. So they've been learning. So I've been helping out with those. And yeah, we've sent quite a few just with a bunch of friends. So it's been fun. So I got a rapier. Which
nice.
Was, yeah,
cool.
It's my first one. So now I just need the scythe for the log and I'm done. Besides the hard mode kits. And I quite enjoy TOB. So yeah, it's fun. Oh, well, it's fun with your friends. I don't really like the fact that you can't solo it. I really wish it was soloable reasonably.
It's funny you mentioned that. I've been doing We Do Raids a little bit because sometimes the people in the clan and Discord, we have a lot of like really good raiders. I mentioned this before, but I've been very handheld in a lot of raids, and sometimes I'm like, I need to be the best person on my team in order for myself to get better. You know, kind of take the training wheels off and really see how well I can perform if I'm the one who has to carry. And I'll tell you right now, it's not great. They never go too well. But We Do Raids, you do bump into like some decent people or people who are at least willing to keep sending it. Sometimes people say like We Do Raids is a bad rap. And I was always like, I've had a good experience with it. But the other day I rated it and we were all in voice chat. It was the most uncomfortable thing I think I've ever had to do on RuneScape. Just the personalities, it didn't work out. Some people can be a little bit more, a little aggressive when things don't go right. That's the problem. You mess up on Theater of Blood and it can be quite punishing for the whole team. Some people don't like that. So I had a very uncomfortable experience the other night and I was like, wow, you can have 20 good raids, but having just one really bad one, especially when it's like on a more personal level, I think, not just like, oh, you can't complete the raid, but you're on voice chat and people are just kind of making it very uncomfortable. It makes you forget about the 19 good raids. So
yeah, I actually find that raiding with people who are better than you makes you better, because you can ask them questions and see what they do and kind of mimic it. Being the one that sort of has to carry is a good test of your limits, and can kind of be a good test for yourself to sort of see where you are. But I don't necessarily think it's the best way to learn. Teaching people is definitely good. It helps you understand the mechanics, or at least how to explain them a little bit better. But yeah, raiding with people who are better than you is ideal. Like I raid with people who are better than me all the time, and I'm still like learning stuff all the time from guys like 40 and Poplo and whoever that are just beasts at these raids and have all the best gear. Like it's cool to just be able to ask them questions like, oh, why do you do Xarthas this way versus what these other guys are doing, et cetera, et cetera. Helps just build your knowledge.
Some people are it's good to see when like someone is like, and I mean like the top 0.01% of like their skill level. Like they're so good. I was raiding with someone and they're basically carrying the four of us, and they were like so good that I would see them do shit and I was like, man, are we even playing the same game? Like what the frick is going on? We got to the Soda Seg room. We touched about it a little bit earlier, but so when you get to one of these bosses in Theater of Blood, there's this mechanic where the boss will teleport one person to like a different instance. So he's separate from the party, but you're both in identical areas. But there's this map, there's this grid on the floor, and this person, they can see what path it is to get through this little maze. But that person, whatever tiles they go on, it then sends it over to the rest of the party and they have to follow along. If people step off the wrong tiles, a lot of damage gets passed around. So it's really cool that you're like, people are separate and you kind of have to communicate or at least know when one person's going to go, you have to be ready to go with them.
And there's a tornado chasing you. So there's a time crunch too. It's not just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Take your time. Yeah. And the tornado catches you, you're dead. So.
Exactly. And you kind of have to, you don't want to be too slow because the person going ahead of you, the maze starts disappearing. So then you're going to start like, shit, I don't remember what tile to click on next because they were going so fast. Well, I was raiding with this one guy who was so good at this game. And he said beforehand, he's like, this is going to be fun. Good luck. Because he was the one who's going to show the maze. Boom. He ran, took off. In like 2 seconds, he was gone through the maze. And we all died because we all killed each other because we couldn't keep up.
A one tick where you have to just every tick, you have to click a new tile. You raid 416, high KCs, even low KCs, you got to be ready for the one tick.
seeing people play that game, you're just like, wow, makes me really want to get good at this game. And then you try to get good and you're like, wow, I kind of hate this game. I never want to play it again.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the tick system last week. I listened to both episodes, by the way.
Oh, nice.
And I heard you say I was deeply frustrated listening to you talk about the tick system, Dills.
I knew you would. At the
God.
very end, I was like, damn it, Heartless, where are you?
I think the tick system is beautiful because you can play this game and never think about it once and max and do a lot of PVM and have a really good time. Or you can like really take the time to learn the like core mechanics of the game and how the engine works and learn to like manipulate it to have, better DPS, take less damage, just have more efficient sort of just better skills overall. And I think games need skill ceilings that are really, really high, or else they don't have longevity because everyone's just sort of playing at the same pace. You need to be able to improve yourself or see improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Games that don't have that skill ceiling tend to not last very long. Yeah, that's just why I find it fascinating. And yeah, like the Inferno, you mentioned it kind of forces you to look at the tick system. It really does. And that post that you were talking about, I always thought it was just written by someone who was pissed off and keeps dying on wave 50 in the Inferno, to be honest. Because it's a painful, like I've literally been there, like it's a painful process. It's incredibly hard, like the hardest thing I've ever done in gaming. But it was worth it. And it taught me so much about the game. And it really, I swear to God, meant Inferno is like 30% mechanical skill. Like you do have to learn the tick system. You do have to learn how to flick your prayers correctly. You do need to learn like what tiles are safe, how to like trap monsters, all these like little mechanics that to keep yourself alive and conserve your health and safely deal damage to monsters. You need to learn like where you can hit things from, how to start like certain stacks. These are all just like core things that you'll have to learn at some point while learning the Inferno. But then I forgot what my point was. But then now that you've learned all this stuff, you just need to put it together. And then it's 70% mental because you make one mistake and you die in the Inferno. That's just, there's really no safety there. There's no safety net there. You really do have to put everything together and have a good run to get the cape. So it's challenging, man. It really is. It's hard when you've completed the waves once or twice, and now you still are probably going to have to do it like 15 more times just to get your cape, because you're going to make a mistake here or there. A misclick, a missed prayer flick, like a one tick missed, and you're dead. But like I said, I think having that skill ceiling in the game, it's not necessary to get an Inferno cape. It's not even a huge upgrade for the time that you have to put into getting it. But it's certainly something there to allow people to express themselves at a higher level of gameplay, which I think is really good for a game like this. That kind of looks really old and janky,
Yeah, no, totally. There's something about, I don't know if it's like the tick system specifically that I find frustrating to deal with sometimes. There's something about the system that I find it's very unintuitive.
It's just because it's old. Like every game, the best players understand the game at like a fundamental level. Like not only like the actual mechanics of how the game system works. It's like in League of Legends, like something that like I just remember this one, like you can keep learning higher and higher mechanical skill things that are built into the game. You don't need to know how to do them to play the game and have a good time. But if you want to improve it, play like push your skill ceiling and play at a higher level, learning all these little tricks help. Like there's a character called Annie who is a very classic, easy character to play, and she's just a mage. She's free, so everyone starts off with her, and she has super simple abilities. But every fourth attack that she does, she stuns people, and her ultimate is this giant AOE bear that she just drops on your face. So she's a really powerful character. Because if you stun multiple people in a team fight, you can just absolutely blow them up and win it for your whole team. So she's known as like a fairly simple but powerful team fighter, just because of that stun and the damage. But she's really immobile, so she can't move very far. So you rely heavily on this thing called Flash, which has a 5-minute cooldown. So often you'll save it for a fight, you'll flash into the targets, and then you'll dump your ultimate, getting some squishies and then cleaning up. And you usually win if you land a decent ult with any. But there's a mechanic. What you can do is you can ult further away than your distance and then flash, which means that as soon as you arrive, it'll immediately drop your ult instead of like waiting a 0.5 second. And people can react with their own flash to get away if you flash first and then dump your ultimate, because you'll see the animation. You'll be like, oh shit, she's coming. Then you can get away. But the other way, there's literally no time to react to it. And there's a bunch of characters that can it's called like animation canceling, basically. It's just a form of animation canceling. And all games really have that, like newer games. It happens too with like shooters and stuff like that. But I don't really get what my point was, but basically it's good to have these skill ceilings. But they're there only if you want to, like, you don't need to do it like to play the game and have a great time. It's up to you if you want to push that. And that the Inferno is just a natural way to push people into learning those mechanics. And it's also like, it's kind of too late to change it. Like, that's just how the game works. And it's either like, yeah, if you want to get really good, like get on board and learn it, or you don't. There's nothing wrong with either choice.
Well, RuneScape 3 is trying to do away with their tick system.
How?
Oh, so it's going to come to old school one day.
If you change the game too much, it's just not the same game anymore. So if you remove the tick system or made it like 90 game ticks instead of 100 every minute, like the game would be completely different. Or if you made it 1,000, like it would be a different game. It wouldn't be old school RuneScape anymore because all of the high level shit would change. So I think it would be a huge mistake to change the tick system from what it is right now.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. Everything would feel super different, but I think what RuneScape 3 is doing, and I don't know if they're ever going to do it because they've been working on it for a long time and they're still working on it. And they even said themselves, they don't know if this can ever be implemented, but they want to do away with, they're basically changing the engine. The tick system will still be there, but also, is it the refresh rate? I don't even know, but they'll make it so, like, you know, in old school RuneScape, and this is, I think, what makes it a little bit harder to learn is your character's not really exactly where it is. Like, there's a True Tile plugin that will show you where your character actually is. And so with RuneScape 3, they're trying to make it so there's not a delay when you click. You don't have to wait, the tick for things to register or whatever it is. It'll be instant, which would also mean the character will be exactly where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's a pretty big change too, because right now, like, if you click on something, the action registers and then the next tick it will happen. And that's kind of connected to how we move as well. So you're actually if you're running, you're 2 tiles behind, you're 2 tiles ahead of wherever you think you are. So yeah, like you said, True Tile is something that a lot of people use.
I was doing some Vorkath this week. I bought some Vorkath gear. I was like, you know what? Let's shred some Vorkath. It's a pretty cool pet. It's been a while since we've been there, so let's do it. And I was trying to learn some of the pro mechanics, and I ended up I have the hang of it now. But when I was learning it, it feels so unnatural because your character, you're reacting. Is it a second? Like, you're reacting sooner than you think you would, or you're reacting.
You're clicking sooner than your character is there. So, like, a perfect I learned this when I did Godor's Dungeon. So Bandos 6-0 was the first time I really learned, like, attacking and how the attacking animation works. So in order to effectively kite Bandos around the room in a solo method, right now with the Bofa, people do 7-0. Just means you hit 7 times, Bandos hits 0. This is like a common term you'll see. It's basically a ratio of hits, your hits to the opposing hits. Bandos, originally it was the 6-0. John came up with this thing where you could run around in the circle and kite Bandos. If you were
John?
Solo John, he's like a fairly high. Sorry, his name isn't John. It's John, like JAWN. He's like a really famous high-end Iron Man who like comes up with a bunch of. I thought you were just throwing
out a name like, you know, Steve did this.
No, yeah, my boy John. No, dude, yeah. Sorry, I forgot that I realized that I know a fair more, and I should explain it because I'm on a podcast, of course. Anyways, so this dude who comes up with all these methods came up with this thing, and it was crazy at the time because Bandos used to be this shithouse boss where you had to go and you get like 1 kill because he fucking slaughters you. But now everyone's like, oh my God, I can get 24 kills in a trip. I could basically kill him like 30 times an hour. Absolute game changer. But the trick was you have to be tick perfect, which means you have to attack on each corner. And if you stall, Bandos will be able to smack you. And he hits really hard. And you're basically in rags and you're praying range because you're only getting hit by his little minions. So if he does get you with a melee, you're going to get bopped for like a 60. So there are many deaths trying to figure it out. But once you kind of get the hang of it, it's pretty it's pretty simple. Like it makes a lot more. It kind of feels natural to me now, like running around and not missing animations. I call it stalling, where your character arrives there, then you attack, then you move. But instead of doing it, it's like turning your motions, making them a lot more fluid, like your movement and your attacks. It just takes some time and some practice.
Yeah, totally. I think anyone who's listening finds it kind of hard to I don't know what these guys are talking about. Go do Rogue's Den, and then that place that was the first time when I went there. That's when I encountered this whole, wait a minute, your character doesn't move exactly the way it looks like it moves. That's where I learned no, your guy he doesn't run, he teleports.
So there's sort of like natural level ups in this game when you get into PVM. So there's your low level bosses like Kraken, where you turn on your prayer and you click the boss and it dies. Then you start to move up to things like Vorkath, where you have to pray and then he has some specials. And if you're just bolt ragging him, it's pretty simple. You turn on your walk and you keep walking and don't stop. That's a fairly simple one. Then you start to get into stuff like Zulrah, Chamber of Xeric, where you have to have the correct prayers on at the same time, and you need to be standing in the right positions. Maybe switching a little bit of gear. Then you move into things like Corrupted Gauntlet, where you really have to understand how movement works in the game, or else you're going to start to die to things. Corrupted Gauntlet is another place where I learned a lot of those fundamentals. Then you get into Tob, which is kind of similar to Corrupted Gauntlet. Tob or Frosandi's Nightmare. They're kind of all in the same ballpark. Where you start to have to get into those fundamentals a little more, know how the movement cycles work, know how to maximize your damage. And then you get into Inferno, where you have to put it all together.
When you listen to an EDM song and they'll have one melody, and then the second verse, they have a new melody, and the third verse, they bring them both together. It's like that, right?
A lot of it is rhythm, though. I certainly feel, I have a feel for the game now, and the natural, how the tick system works. Even at Theater of Blood, recently I've been learning how to tick perfect tank Verzik, which means with a whip, I have a blade, but with a 4-tick weapon, you don't miss any ticks, and you just get to deal basically 2 hits instead of 1 hit sometimes when you're outside of her. Usually you hit her once, run underneath, hit her once, run underneath, but her attack cycle is almost twice as long as yours. So every once in a while, every other time you step out, you can get 2 hits off, but you have to be kind of perfect with it. And if you fuck it up, your teammates are going to take a 50 each. So it's really scary, but I've kind of just gotten a feel for it eventually. And I know I have to wait a certain amount of time. But anyways, I don't even remember my point deals. Tick system good. That's all I have to say.
And if you're a PvPer, your version of leveling up is being able to type when you're killing someone.
Man, those guys have APM that I cannot imagine. Some of those people, and they switch and they do the fake switches and then back to their AGS. They're really, really good. The top PKers, I think, are the best mechanically skilled players in the game.
I always wondered, could you take the best PVMer, and if you dumped him into the wilderness, would they be able to fare? Would they be okay? Or if
they'd be good. They'd be
good.
They'd be good for sure. But they would pale. They pale in comparison, to PvPers for switching. And there's even just levels of knowledge and gameplay when you're fighting someone at a high level. Are they going to hit me with this because I'm praying defensively? You're not fighting against a monster. You're fighting against an organic human human who makes choices.
Or bot. Yeah.
And but they're unpredictable, and there's gamesmanship there. But when you're doing PVM, there's not as much there.
Yeah. Now, if you take the best skillers and dump them in PVM and PvP,
they'd suck in both. So
they're just they're just on cruise control. No, those guys. It's a whole different game. Anyways, that's some great stuff. Yeah, look at that. I was about to get into this is why I hate the tick system, and then you explained it, and I was like, I can't even say it. I can't even say it because it's all moot at this point.
Just because I love something doesn't mean you have to love it.
No, because I was gonna say that I was gonna have arguments where like, yeah, but like trying to learn how to Woox walk feels so unnatural. But then I'm gonna counter myself and say, well, that's kind of like a pro mechanic. Like most people, you don't need to do
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
Vorkath.
You can do Smarties Max did 3,000 KC. He just fucking walked all the acid phases, and he's plenty rich, and he's maxed. You know what I mean? Like he's chilling. You don't need to learn those mechanics to grind bosses or like play the game to a high level. Even that's just like those are leveling up options that you have, which I think are absolutely vital for longevity.
Totally. And then you see someone who's really good at it and you're like, but I want to be like that. And then it's
I think like overall I'm pretty good at this game, but I even like look up to some players that I just can't even fathom how good they are. You know what I mean? Like they're that many levels ahead of me that it's crazy. So
yeah, I watch a lot of PvP streams, and even with them watching like the best PvPer, you're just like, these guys are playing a totally different game.
Like, and then those guys look up to people like Exact and Woox, who are just like, they understand the game on such a deep level that, they virtually don't make mistakes. They're like machines.
All right, it's some great stuff. Now, I guess we've been talking a lot of PvPM. Why don't we take a break? We're not going to take a break. Let's play the jingle and then we'll go talk about the news. This is what happens when I do too many like solo podcasts. I'm like, I don't remember how to segue these things. So
we're like 30 minutes in. We haven't talked about anything yet. Okay, let's do it.
Let's start off with the main part of this update sandwich. It is the Tomb of Amascut reward changes. Technically, this is V3 of the rewards because these aren't just like slight changes. These are full on reworks of some of these. So the first item we're going to talk about is the Shadow of Tumikin. So this item is actually, they swapped out the previous mage item for this new one. So we had it was called, I have it here.
The Heka of Tumikin.
The Heka of Tumikin has been removed, and we now have the Shadow of Tumikin. So it was a one-handed, kind of like a wand. Now we have a two-handed staff. And the way this works is it is a charged staff, I guess. It's going to be like the Trident or the Sanguinesti staff where you can throw a bunch of runes into it and then it does its own magic attack. But it has two special passive effects that go with it. The first is, well, they're both the same. Magic strength and magic accuracy from any gear is tripled.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm losing. This weapon is insane.
And this is replacing the Heka. So this seems quite cool. So their reason for switching this is because they want, and I think this is a proper way of thinking. We have 2 raids, soon to be 3 raids in this game, and each raid gives you a really, really, really good weapon for a combat style. So with Chambers of Xeric, we have the Twisted Bow.
Busted.
It is. It's a one bill bow.
Busted.
It does damage based on your opponent's magic attack, and it's really strong. It's like it's the best ranged weapon in the game. Theater of Blood, we got the Scythe of Vitur, which is this two-handed scythe that does 3 hit splats to any opponent that's bigger than a 1x1 square, right?
I think it needs to be bigger than 1x1. I believe that's correct. Also, never used one. I have seen it used many times. Busted.
It looks it's a really hard-hitting weapon, and what makes the Twisted Bow and the Scythe unique is that they don't just work like regular weapons. The Twisted Bow works really good against bosses and monsters that have a high magic, and then the Scythe works good against bigger monsters. So when they're good, they are the best. And so we have ranged, we have melee, and now they want raids 3 to have the best magic attack weapon that's like leagues better than
this thing is busted good, but not too good. Very, very powerful though. Dills, I absolutely love this weapon. It's 5 tick first of all, so it's 1 tick slower than the Trident and the Sanguinesti staff, which is important because it will change how methods work. Like for example, soloing Olm. You can't just do a 3-0 head phase. Like basically, I'm not going to complicate you with mechanics, but the fact that it's a slower weapon is going to mean there are new metas for killing certain bosses, which is really interesting. And I really, really like the passive that it's has a tripling effect. We've never really seen this before. And I think it's a way to sort of increase the power of magic overall. Also a big fan of it being two-handed so that it's not too overpowered, because if it was a one-handed, had this effect and you could put an arcane on your arm, oh my god, it'd be crazy.
Yeah. It's quite strong. I think right now we have is it 23%? Anyway, you're going to be able to hit like 70s with magic. And they did a game jam. Was it last week or the week before, where they are potentially, they have this new PVM activity that might come out in the game one day. And one of the reward concepts is having a magic cape that is more percentage, more mage strength tied to it.
And that's something I've mentioned before as an upgrade, remember? So I actually think this is just fantastic. I mean, magic these days, you don't really hit higher than maybe a 40. So like the fact that you're going to be dropping these huge XP drops with this staff are great. Yeah, I just absolutely love it. Notably, this does not triple the effect of your magic gear when you're casting things from your spellbook. It's just for the powered staff. So it's not like you're going to get triple damage and triple accuracy for ice barrages. So this is not useful in PvP, and it does not increase, your blood barrages or anything like that. It's strictly the powered staff.
So it does seem pretty cool. It's nice to have this hard hitting weapon. One thing that I was, I guess, kind of disappointed by, and maybe not majorly, but with the first version of this, the Heka of Tumikin, the way that wand was going to work was it would do like 3 fast attacks that did less damage, and then it would do a 4th attack that took longer to cast, but it did much more damage. That was the original one. And I kind of like the idea of this new weapon working a little bit differently compared to like other traditional mage weapons. So this one being just a standard spell that keeps shooting a little bit, but it's a little bit slower. It's still cool, but I think it's just maybe less inspiring. And I saw one comment, which I don't think is that big of a deal, but they mentioned that the problem with this tripling mage strength is that this could potentially run into a problem down the road where it becomes harder to introduce mage armor because of this one staff. We had this problem with the blowpipe where bringing out new range boosting equipment was tough because the blowpipe was so strong. They eventually nerfed it.
But we've already got like all the magic equipment, like a cult necklace is an insane item. It gives you 10% magic damage for 300k compared to the 6% magic damage that you get from full ancestral. So a cult necklace is absolutely bonkers. Got tormented bracelet, you've got full ancestral, you've got the mage cape, and potentially in the future they could add I think what they could do to upgrade mage is add that offhand, like the Heka of Tumik. Did they remove the offhand that gave 5% magic damage? I think they did, right?
I don't know. It's not featured in this dev blog, but again, neither is the ranged armor.
I assume they took it off because it doesn't work with the Shadow of Tumikin, so because it's two-handed. So I think that's an option, because that would then buff up the Sanguinesti staff, which is still going to be best in slot at some places where you want the healing. So, there's a potential, like if you're doing solo CMs or something, that you still might want to bring a Sanguinesti staff for consistency over which I guess we're going to call this the SOT. I don't know. The Tumikin or whatever we're going to call it. I don't know. It's just going to have some kind of shortened name, surely. But basically what I'm saying is Sanguinesti staff will still have its place in the game. It obviously won't be nearly as good for raw DPS, but the healing is still valuable in certain places.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I think overall this is great. They mentioned its DPS being like far superior to the Twisted Bow in certain areas, like for example, Commander Ziliana. I think T-Bow was like a 7 for DPS, and this is like a 10, so almost 30% better. Don't quote me on that. It was something like that though. Of course, remember you're going to need to be in full mage robes, and this was assuming you're imbued hearted the whole time. So you might take a little bit more damage from minions. That's the thing to remember. Like certain bosses, even though something is better DPS, you don't always bring it because like longevity of trips is more important. Like Blood Fury being used over Torture, for example. So it's going to be great. This is going to be great a lot of places. You'll be able to do Zuck with it. Whole bunch of stuff.
So quick note before we move on to the next one. You know how sometimes when a question fails a poll blog and they just keep pulling it until it passes, or they bring out an integrity change. I think this might be the first time they're doing the opposite, where they pulled the Heka of Tumikin that passed, and they said, well, I guess they don't like that idea. There's some problem. I think they're faced with it.
It just wasn't enough oomph.
I think it's hard to balance.
It didn't have that wow factor either that the T-bow and the scythe have, like a big one-handed. This thing, I want it to be like really visually imposing as well. I'd love it to be just like a huge staff, like golden or something like that. Something super sick.
If this passes, it will be replacing the Heka of Tumikin, the other like one-handed that we were talking about. If this fails, then we're still going to see the Heka of Tumikin. So that's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I almost guarantee this passes.
Yeah, people get excited for stuff like this.
If the Heka did, people are like, I definitely am more excited about this weapon than I was about the Heka. And I thought the Heka was a really cool idea. They could always introduce that sort of like differentiated tick weapon in the future. I think that has a lot of cool plays for it. Like that bow that they were going to release, the Zerite bow, was going to be like a multi-bow that shot multiple minions.
Yeah, I remember that.
I thought that was a really sick idea, and I think it should come into the game at some point in the future. I don't think it's in this blog. They mentioned that the armor has also been changed, like the Masori.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
We're going to get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this staff overall?
I like it. I like the idea. I think it's a good move to have one. Like there's a bunch of great items, but you have the one item that everyone just really wants, the T-bow, like the T-bow, where you have a bunch of items worth about 100 mil or 50 mil or whatever from the Chambers of Xeric, but then you have the T-bow worth 1 bill, and same thing with Theater of Blood. You have items that are like 20 mil and 40 mil and whatever, and then you have the Scythe, which is like 600 mil, whatever it is now. So I like the idea of having this massive item that your party gets really excited for when you get it. So that should be quite cool to see. Another change that we're seeing is from Osmundton's Fang. Beforehand, the idea was that it would.
I think it's Osmutan's Fang.
Osmute. It's silent M.
There's an extra M in Osmundton's Fang. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You got me, Dills. I didn't even see the second M in there. I'm glancing right now to the second monitor to see the to pull this up.
Now Heartless is bringing the alternative pronunciation.
You got me.
So previously, this weapon was going to be this weapon that had a lower max hit, but also had a lower minimum hit or a higher minimum hit. So you weren't going to hit as high as you would with a comparable weapon, but you would hit more consistent with it. They've since changed it, and it looks like they're just making this a more accurate weapon overall. It's going to be still quite strong, and it's going to have a special attack that boosts your accuracy by an additional 50% and increases the max hit of the weapon to its true max hit for one attack.
This weapon is so cool. Really, really big fan of this. This is also likely going to be great in the raid. I assume like all of the weapons are going to be good in the raid, similar to how they are in Chambers of Xeric or even Tob. So yeah, this is a great weapon. It makes Corp. It's like going to be best in slot for Corp. It's going to be best in slot for, I don't know, just anything where something has high defense and you kind of want to pierce through it with that effect because it's going to be so accurate. And we haven't really seen anything like this before, where they've had a weapon that's has a smaller window for its max. It doesn't hit as high, but it hits so consistently. And I like them adding these kind of niche things that are going to be best in slot at certain bosses.
Next is this is a pretty cool one. Yeah, they're really hitting it out with some of these rewards. The Thread of Illidanus. It is an untradeable, all caps, just so that people are aware, this is an untradeable item that you can use with your rune pouch to increase the size of it by 1 slot. So you could have 4 runes instead of 3 runes.
My opinion on this, I really like untradeable items. I think the game needs more of them to get people to do more content. Like things like the Abyssal Needle, if that was tradable, not as many people would do rune crafting mini game. Actually, they probably would because regular rune crafting sucks. But you know what I mean? Just I'm a big fan of these untradeable rewards that come at, hopefully a relatively common rate.
And last in this dev blog, and then we'll go back, talk about the ranged armors, is the Breach of the Scarab. So they brought out this new, it's not a spear. What is it?
It's a hasta. Like a hasta. It's a partisan, right?
Oh, yes, that's what it is. And it's going to have this slot where you can put these different gems, which will give it different buffs and perks. So right now they have 3 of them that are going to be introduced, and all 3 of them will only be good in the raid itself. But they want to bring in this 4th one, which can be used outside of the raid. And that's what this Breach is. So it was an untradeable item that will add 33% accuracy buff against Calphites, Scarabs, and Beetles.
Mostly for Calphite Queen, right?
Yep, looks pretty neat. Cool, buffs it a little bit more. But now we can go back and we can look at from V2, which we
also missed.
Got lost in the when we had that messy schedule going on. And this is a set, we'll just call it the Missouri set. It's 3-piece, helmet, chest, and chain skirt. Originally, this was going to have this special perk called the low life perk, which the lower health you had, the more, if you were underneath 30% or 40% health, you would do much more damage.
Yeah, and just quickly on that, like, cool idea, but it just ends up being too sweaty.
I don't know exactly why, but they ended up saying screw the low life perk, and they're going to be bringing out this 3-piece armor set, which is going to be just a direct upgrade from Armadyl. It's basically the range version of Torva, almost like identical in the fact that you need to break down Armadyl items in order to craft these, which whatever, not a big deal. It feels like forced sometimes where you have these like 2 entirely separate pieces of content. They're like, well, let's just keep Armadyl relevant by having to break it down, but whatever.
I like that. We've really talked about that. It's kind of like the necessary evil of the game. I think that just because we have so many bosses, this is cool. Like, it's not like innovative in any way, really. Like, it's just a buff like we kind of all saw coming, but it's also not a huge buff. But it will be expensive. Like, all these pieces of armor will be very expensive. It makes the blowpipe quite a bit better. And it'll be really valuable armor. Like, I reckon it's going to be all like, 3, 4, 500 mil a piece. I like that they're keeping Kriara relevant because it's, still not a terrible boss to kill. Some people hate it. I actually quite liked it. I like it. I didn't really like the Masori. It's like I said, it's just, you don't really want to promote an armor set that in order to get the best TPS, you have to be like tick eating or like constantly living on the edge of death. I watched someone do an Inferno with it who had like 200 KC and was like, my God, man, like that was a sweaty cave. Like, I was tick eating all over the place and it was really sketchy. In order to just get like a medium level DPS increase, I think this is the safe route to take. And there's nothing wrong with that for an armor set where you kind of know what you're going to get from it. And as a developer, they're already throwing quite a few new items our way, and I like that. So, and this seems to be like primarily where Magic is getting a lot of love. There's nothing really wrong with just giving us a best in slot range armor. So overall, this gets a thumbs up for me. Like, sure, I'm not like, my mind isn't blown, but I'm also happy about it.
I have to agree. I'm happy about it. I'm not excited for it because it's nothing new. It's just a step up, which, well, whatever.
Like Torva, like, I'm happy it's in the game. Like, yeah, it's power creep and blah, 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 but it's minimal. And
it's been a while.
It's been a while, right? Like, armor's been in the game for ages now.
Yeah.
It's about time. And this will be best in slot for, foreseeable decade.
Yep, that's right.
till when Raids 4 comes out in 2034. Or Raids 3 or when Raids 3 comes out in 2034. My God.
Yeah. So I think what we'll end on there is so yeah, those are all the armors. Curious to hear what other people think. Let us know. Do you like anything? Do you hate anything? What are your thoughts on just in general? But they did sort of tease when Raids might be coming out. And it seems like they're planning sometime in August. They mentioned that just offhand. They just mentioned it. That's the problem with these things. They just like randomly mention it in like a Discord channel or something. So that probably means the last week of August, we might see it. Of course, there's probably a high chance of that being pushed back. So don't start booking off time from work. Don't start like planning your sick excuses.
Yeah, wait till August.
Yeah. Unless you're planning to like go under for surgery, then maybe start setting the foundation for that now, being like, oh man, I'm getting these hip problems.
I think they really, really want to get this one out on time. So I do have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to come out relatively close to time. I don't think it's going to be as pushed because they seem to be working very hard on it, as they should be.
Yeah.
So I do hope that, and they've been not bad in the last 6 months at releasing content when they say they're going to. End of last year was terrible, but I think Group Iron Man was like whack. I guess our first test will be to see how the Wilderness rework goes because that's coming out first. Yeah,
it is. That is coming, but that's coming out after the PvP arena, so we have that whole fiasco to deal with, and you can kind of see where things are in the PvP Discord server, but everything's a little bit hush hush. You can't really know. But once the PvP arena comes out, then the Wildy boss will be reworked. That's coming out next. But they did say, they trickled in. They're like, so I've been looking a lot about the PvP Discord about what they're going to bring for the PvP arenas. And a lot of people have been saying, let's bring out some PVM items. We want more PVM items. This will make the PVMers happy. They'll vote yes. We'll all be happy because we get the PvP arena with rewards. But then Matayiza says we don't want to do that because that doesn't really thematically fit because the PvP arena is not PVM. So it shouldn't have PVM rewards, and they want to save. They have some good PVM ideas, and they want to save it for the Wildy boss rework. Anyways, that's where we're at with the news this week. Again, I mentioned some client things in the works, but it's all like back end stuff. There's a survey. Go onto the dev blog. I'll link it in the description if you want to fill out the survey for the mobile client interface. But it's been a little bit of a slow week besides the concepts for Raids 3. Anything else before we take a break?
Nope.
Okay, let's take a break because we got a caller from last week. All right, we're taking a quick little break and heading on over to the Grand Exchange. Side note, do you guys ever go to the Grand Exchange and then you just have like 20 or 30 mil unaccounted for and you have no idea where it is within your bank? And it's not like, I'm pretty sure items didn't just drop. I'm pretty sure I did some trading, or maybe I tried merching and I lost 20 mil somewhere and I don't know where it is. Hate that. Or it's like sitting in a tab somewhere on some stupid item. Like you have like 10 mil worth of the lava dragon scales or some shit because you're doing herblore. Oh, I hate that. Just main problems. Anyways, guys, if you want to support the show, one way, someone pointed this out to me a little while ago. And they said, Dills, you should be asking people to review your show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts and rating it on Spotify. And I was like, that's a good point. I've never really done that because it's just like, whatever, rate it if you want. But if you want to support the show, if you want to do a little bit extra, but maybe you don't want to set up a Patreon or anything like that, give us a rating on Apple Podcasts if you're listening, and give us a rating on Spotify. It really helps with people finding the show, and I read all of them, and it helps me to know when, sometimes people leave a review with some critiques. So it's always helpful to know where we should look to improve. And I mean, you don't have to you can like email me or tell me as well. You don't have to like 1-star bomb if you don't like something. But anyways, go ahead. But hey, if you do want to support the show financially, we do have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/The Wilderness Podcast, and you can sign up there. But I want to welcome Bronze Yon, or is it Yon? Bronze Yon, Bronze Yon. There's the alternate pronunciations. Thank you so much for signing up this week. And of course, for our top tier supporters, I do have to give a shout out So special thanks to Bronze, Yon, Strosity, Olm, My Lord, P. Jackals, Splimo, Szechuan, Yay Fiber, Yolfi, Ferric, and Mallard. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and thank you to everyone else who does support the show as well. It truly means a lot. If Patreon's not your thing, some people just dislike Patreon, and I can understand. I'll sign up for a Patreon sometimes, and I forget it's still going. That's the worst part about subscriptions. You look and you're like, wow, I've been paying for this VIP car repair service for a year, and I haven't used it at all, and that's $40 a month. Ugh. That happened to me a couple months ago. Yeah, but another way you can do it is by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/dills. So I want to thank 2JZ Soup for keeping me caffeinated this week. 2JZ, I know you're super close to being affiliated over on Twitch. So guys, go show some love and help get over that little bump over on Twitch. Yeah, and finally, cannot forget about our Patreon our Discord server boosters. So thank you to CatBarf67, Chick, and Battlestabs for boosting the server. If you want to come hang out on Discord, it is discord.gg/thewilderness. Okay, can you guys tell that we got the kiddo sleeping? This is my trying to be enthusiastic while also trying to be kind of quiet voice. Okay, let's get back into the show. All right, we are back. I mentioned that we have a caller from last week's question, which was, what was an update you were super excited for, and how was it when it was released? Harless, do you remember an update that you were highly anticipating to come out that hasn't been not an update that hasn't been released yet? You can't say Raids 3, but an update that has already come out.
I was pretty excited for Next when it came out because I hadn't really experienced a lot of new content when it came out. I don't think I'd ever done anything day one before. I've never been a day one quest guy. So yeah, I was super excited for Next. I couldn't sleep the night before. I woke up at 5 in the morning to play with my friends on the East Coast because I worked that day. So and it was hilarious because of the meta was constantly evolving in those early days. The cough was getting passed around everywhere, so everyone was wearing magic gear. So I have some hilarious screenshots of the boys trying to balance their magic stat versus range stat. It was fun, man. I had a blast. Yeah.
Okay, so I was about to ask you what was it like when you look back on day one? At the end of the day, it was all good.
It was fun. Right? Yeah, it was definitely cool. There were problems with the boss. Of course, we've talked about Next so many times. But my experience was a good one.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
And Raids 3 is going to be that, but amplified.
Oh, I hope it's Theater of Blood, where waking up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. so that you can be doing it as soon as
I really hope it comes. September is such a hard month. For teachers.
Oh, that's the tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, you really, there's a lot going on in September. I might not, I don't actually have a class at the moment. I'm teaching grade 1 right now. I've told people this, but the way the contracts work, I haven't gone into super detail, but I'm young still, so I don't have a lot of seniority or a union. So my job gets changed. You get changed quite a bit for your first 5 years. You'll never really be at the same school or with the same grade. So I've been all over the place. I've done grade 4, grade 6, grade 3, now grade 1. Just kind of grinding my years, getting my seniority built up. The next year,
seniority level.
Yeah, and then you apply for all the jobs, but there's a pool of people for applying. And even though I'm in a good round for applying, I don't actually have enough seniority to pull any decent jobs at the moment. So I'm kind of just picking up mat leaves. I have 2.5 years seniority, and I need about 5 to really get a stable job that I won't get laid off from and have to reapply every year. That's just how the system works. You reap the rewards later, and it's really not that bad. I actually kind of like it because it lets me not commit to specific schools and try out all the different grades, which gives me, even if I don't I've mentioned, I don't like grade 1 as much as the older grades, but it's certainly giving me an appreciation for what kind of learning happens at that age. And I think that just makes me a better educator overall. Just kind of understanding the whole system a little bit better. So really, it's all a good experience. I also happen to be typically quite positive, so that also helps. Yeah, I can't even remember what I was saying. So I might not even have a job until like mid-September, which wouldn't be bad, right? Because then I could get a week of raiding in. But we'll see.
But you also can't call in sick the first week of school because the raids came out.
Well, I mean, but like if I don't have a contract, then I'll just be a sub. And the first week you usually don't get much work. It's not necessarily true, because if they haven't filled like temporary, I don't apply for, there's a lot of scrap jobs, I call them, which are like, you work Tuesday and Friday at this school, but then you can't get a full-time job later if one becomes available. So I usually just kind of hold out until a full-time one comes up and then I go for it. It's a little complicated, but basically I prefer to work 5 days at one school with the same class rather than like sporadically, like, 2 days a week at this school, 2 days a week with this school, and then 1 day a week at this other school. Like that it's a lot harder, I find, just personally. So I kind of hold out for specific contracts. But it's not a big deal because I could just sub for the first month if I have to. It's not the end of the world. And we'll get to that when September comes. I'm looking forward to it this year. Raids 3, man, it's going to be huge. Really looking forward to it.
It is going to be quite exciting. It's always cool to hear the way like job prospects are in other fields. I work in podcasting and like media, and it's like the tricky part is nobody cares how much experience you have. They want to hear what you've done. So it's like I've applied for jobs and it's like, I've been working in the field for 2 years, and they're like, cool, what do you have to show for it? I'm like, well, nothing good. They don't care.
That's the thing about union work, is it's very much opposite of your track record. So it's just about how long you've worked for, not how good you are at your job, how much people like you.
Right.
And that's obviously, it's both the good and the bad part of being in a union. But that's, that's what I'm doing. That's where I am. So I have to play the system I have. And it's not the end of the world. But yeah, it must be tough to be a contractor. Like not knowing where your next job might be from. I'm sure it's great when you're busy and stuff. But having the like secure work is definitely something that puts my mind at ease.
Yeah, totally. I used to work freelance and it was like so stressful because you'd have like a client that would like pay really well for 2 months and then they would drop off.
But then again, you also have the freedom, like you are working for yourself. You can set your own hours, work as hard as you want to, make as much money as you can, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just depends on the kind of person you are.
Yeah, totally. It's however you're built. If you're a PVM or a PvP or a skiller, it's like that out for work too. Anyways, let's play the call. We got a call from Matacause1 talking about what his update he was very excited for and what it was like when it was released.
In episode 208, I had asked you
Still
update in old school RuneScape.
Matacause.
I can't stop it. Oh my goodness, this is going south.
Matacause1 with that Canadian accent.
Okay, let's hear from our not South our Austrian friend. Let's go.
What is up, the Wilderness Podcast? It is Matacause1 again. I will never miss an episode, I promise. No, I can't promise that.
Co-host.
But I'm going to try my best to answer every episode. I love answering. Okay, anyway. In honor of my trip to Venice this weekend, I'm going to cheat a little on the question of the week. So I know I'm supposed to talk about the update I was most excited for in old school RuneScape, but I'm going to go with sailing. I've honestly been excited for sailing since I began playing RuneScape in 2004, and the fact that it has never been released has truly disappointed me, both from a Jagex perspective and a player perspective. The player base honestly just seems to not want to bring more fun into the game. Oh well. Anyway, time to get packing for my trip to Venice, and I can't wait for the next episode. See you, guy. Or maybe guys, if Heartless ever returns.
Hey. Poor guy has to pack to go to Venice. Ugh, must be a shame.
Yeah, that sounds rough. I am quite jealous. I would love to be to travel more, but I don't. I think I've left the country like twice in my life.
I was lucky enough to go to Venice when I was 12.
Is it nice? Did you get to fully experience? Like, did you fully appreciate it?
I did, yeah. So there's the touristy parts which were in the town, but what I really liked was we started to explore some of the like outer communities. And there was an island, I think it was Marino, maybe. I can't remember the exact name, but they were specialized in making glass art. And it was just, I thought it was absolutely fascinating. And it was funny that the water got cheaper and the bottled water got cheaper and cheaper the further you got away from the center. It was like €5 for a bottle in the middle, and then it was cheaper as you went further out. But yeah, Italy was so hot and humid. But I really did enjoy my time there.
That's awesome. Sounds like a good time. And sailing, I think has been their best skill idea since they've pitched 3 of them. Artisan and Warding were the other 2, both kind of stinkers. But sailing seemed like it was going to be this kind of like Dungeoneering in RuneScape 3, where you have these procedurally generated areas, not dungeons, but maybe islands, or maybe there's dungeons within the islands, and be able to uncover artifacts or whatever it is. So it's pretty cool. I'm also like, I forget who I was talking to. I was talking to someone though, and there's like a lack of seafaring things to consume. I don't know how to explain this. We have like no dramas that are like about pirates, at least nothing that's good. There's no movies. You have Pirates of the Caribbean, but that's like it. And even books. If I find a hard time finding like books solely based on like, you know, pirates and sailing,
Moby Dick,
you know, naval, whatever. But that's it. Nothing that's like super
20,000 Leagues Below the Sea. Classics right there, Dills.
I don't want classics. I want the, you know, like a Game of Thrones, but it's pirates and stuff.
I'm sure there are plenty out there. Just gotta go looking.
Somebody tell me where they are, because I can't find them. Or the ones that I've tried are like, they're okay.
Yeah, I have a question. I have a question / challenge of the week.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay,
yeah,
so okay. I'll put 25 mil for the winner.
Jesus.
Yeah. And
we can't. You can't do this as the call of the week. You're gonna start setting a trend where we have to put bounties up for these calls.
No. I'm putting a bounty up for this. This one's gonna take a bit of effort. So okay, so 2 random bonds to give away for anyone who applies, and then 25 mil for the winner. We'll decide on air. Okay, so this is what it is. I want you to design an item to come into the game. It doesn't really matter how it comes in, but just design an item for the game. Could be a PVM item. Could be just like, you know, a fashionscape item. Could be a PvP weapon. Could be PvP armor. Could be anything. Any item to come into the game. And just tell us about it and why it would be useful and why people would like it, or why you think it'd be good for the game. So I have one. I'm thinking about this.
Okay.
It's an offhand, and it gives +3 magic, +3 prayer, and it's an equipable collection log. Okay. And the slots upgrade every time you reach 100 collect things on the collection log. So it starts off at like tier, so like 1 out of, and I say, for argument's sake, it only goes up to 1,000, because that's like a pretty big amount of collection logs. There are 1,300 in the game, but some of them are just crazy to get. So it caps at 1,000. You have a completely filled one. So 100, 200, 300, etc. you get to unlock. And every time you get a new level on it, it unlocks an infinite amount of teleports to the mini game, to a specific mini game. So you start out with the shit ones. Like you can infinitely teleport to blast furnace or fishing trawler. Okay, so there are these weird ones where usually you have to wait for the minigame timer, but now we have an infinite equipable teleport that you can also keep in your inventory. And then the more and more you unlock, there'll be specific ones unlocked at certain tiers, all the way up to 1,000, where you would unlock like the Ferox Enclave or something like that. One of the better ones that would actually be useful for certain activities. Because currently there's no way to like infinitely tell. I mean, there's like dueling ring. So, I mean, maybe it wouldn't be great, but it's like an undegradable dueling ring in a way, because it could teleport to the Enclave or to the duel arena, Barbarian Assault, you know, fishing trawler, Guardians of the Rift. You have like an unlimited teleport to these places unlocked at specific tiers. That's my pitch. Nightmare Zone,
Damn, it's not-
Last Man Standing. Yeah, there are some cool things that you could add to that. But I think
It's not a bad
it'd
one.
be
That's
a
pretty
way
good.
to like connect, increasing your collection log count, which everyone loves. To, as far as I can tell, a lot of people really like the collection log, to like a physical object in the game that has some value. So kind of like the combat achievements or the achievement diaries, or even quests give you rewards. I think completing collection log could also give you rewards, and this would just be an idea for that.
Interesting.
As well as being like a
That's
decent
good.
magic offhand for the early game.
It's cool.
Maybe.
I can dig it. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's my idea anyways. So come up with your pitch for an item. I'll even accept an idea, but mostly looking for cool items, or just, yeah, whatever. What do you think should be added to the game item wise? I think we'll keep it as a hard item just for fairness, because I've got money riding on this. So
It's a hard item. Okay, cool. Yeah. Mine would be, it's going to be a harpoon gun. And you could shoot a harpoon, and you got a rope tied to it, and you can use it anywhere. But if you use it in PV, whatever you shoot is then attached to you, and they can't get away until something happens. I don't know what. I haven't thought that far ahead. But you're in the wilderness, some guy's running away, and boom, you can shoot him, and he's not running away no more because he can't get away.
like a telly block, but it's like an infinite telly block, but you're tethered to the person. So as long as you stay within distance of them, they can't teleport away.
Yeah, and it's like a web. You got to use a knife on it to cut it, to slash
That'd be
it.
hilarious.
I'm
Anyway,
not
anyways, I put
winning that
you on the spot, so it's a lot harder. But I actually thought about that collection log one for a while.
I'm surprised they don't have one.
Yeah,
but
you
it's
could
a
even
cool
tell
idea.
me like if you want to add more detail, like how it comes into the game. That would also be cool. But yeah, just kind of looking for people's ideas to like brainstorm some what interesting items we could come up with as a community. And I'll put
Very
a
nice
little
stuff.
money in there to make it worth your while. So
God damn. Cool. That's exciting. Let's see who wants to win some bonds. All right. So I got a skedaddle. So let me run through all our little housekeeping. We have a Discord server, discord.gg/thewilderness. We have an email, thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. Do you want people calling in, or can they email in
the email
ideas?
or call in, both are acceptable.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll play.
So boom, there's
yeah.
the email.
It's going to be a full episode, I imagine, if we get enough people calling in or enough cool ideas.
Bonus episode.
Yeah.
Oh, we might have to do a bonus episode.
Maybe.
If you want to call in, there is a link in the description below. And our in-game clan is Wild. And that is pretty much it. Anything you want to mention?
Nope. Just
Okay.
yeah,
Get your ideas in.
get your ideas and join the
Awesome.
Discord.
And they have until next episode.
Yeah, so like I guess a week from when, maybe it would be 2 episodes, just so people have a little more time.
Okay, 2 episodes. Okay, that sounds
So
great.
you'll have about, I guess, 10 days technically. Will be the window.
Our song of the week is going to be Tomb Raider. Just kidding. It's Tomb Raider. It is a song that is unlocked in Pyramid Plunder. Track's name and place of unlocking references Tomb Raider. It's funny. Okay. Heartless, welcome back. I was getting lonely over here.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be back. I'm looking forward to consistently getting these out now that I'm starting to feel better.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, that about does it for 209, and we'll see you on 2010. Yeah, that's what's
2010. Oh my god, I'm glad I'm back. Okay, see you guys.
next.